You've felt it your entire life, haven't you? This quiet knowing that something fundamental separates you from the crowd. While others accept the world as it appears, you've always sensed there's something more, something deeper, something calling to you from beyond the edges of ordinary perception. Everyone around you seems content to live inside the same recycled thoughts, the same predictable patterns, the same limited reality. But you've never quite fit into their version of what life is supposed to be. And here's what no one tells you. That feeling isn't a flaw. It's not something to overcome or normalize. It's your quantum signature recognizing itself. It's your consciousness detecting the frequencies that most people have learned to ignore. You're not like the others because you're operating on a different wavelength entirely. And this moment, right now, is when you stop apologizing for that difference and start using it to transform not just your reality, but reality itself. Let me explain something that will change everything you think you know about being different. The reason you've always felt separate isn't because something's wrong with you. It's because your consciousness is naturally tuned to quantum possibilities that linear thinking can't access. While others see a fixed world of solid objects and unchangeable circumstances, your awareness keeps picking up signals from the field of infinite potential. Most people live their entire lives in what quantum physicists call classical reality, the realm where things appear solid, separate, and predetermined. They believe in cause and effect, in linear time, in the idea that reality exists independently of their observation. And for them, this creates a very specific type of experience, predictable, limited, and ultimately frustrating, because they're always trying to change effects instead of working with causes. But you've been sensing the quantum realm your whole life, the place where consciousness and reality dance together in an intimate partnership, where observation literally creates what's observed, where potential exists in superposition until awareness collapses it into experience. If this resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, not just for more content, but to stay aligned with this frequency of expanded awareness. This is why traditional advice has never quite worked for you. When people tell you to just think positive or work harder or be more realistic, it feels hollow because you intuitively understand that reality operates on principles far more sophisticated than simple willpower or mechanical effort. You're wired to perceive the deeper game, the game where consciousness shapes matter, where intention creates interference patterns in the quantum field, where being different isn't a disadvantage. It's your access code to dimensions of possibility that others can't even see. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is the part that most people who talk about quantum consciousness completely miss. Your difference isn't just about perception, it's about function. You're not just seeing a different reality, you're designed to create one. Think about this. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect isn't passive. The act of observation doesn't just reveal reality, it determines it. Your consciousness doesn't just witness the collapse of the wave function. It participates in that collapse. It influences which possibility becomes actual experience. Most people observe reality unconsciously. They look at their circumstances through the lens of past conditioning, expected limitations, inherited beliefs about what's possible. And so their observation consistently collapses the quantum field into more of the same. They literally observe their way into repetitive, predictable patterns because they're measuring reality with the same instruments of perception over and over again. But when someone like you, someone whose consciousness operates outside normal parameters, begins to observe intentionally, everything changes. You don't just see different possibilities, you select them. You call them into form through the quality of your attention. You prove that consciousness isn't separate from the reality it observes. It's the creative force behind that reality. This is why you've always felt different, because you are different. Your consciousness is structured to access and activate quantum potentials that remain invisible to ordinary perception. Let that sink in for a moment. Breathe into the recognition that what you've always felt as separation is actually your greatest gift. Now let's talk about what this means practically, because understanding your quantum nature is only the beginning. The real transformation happens when you learn to use it deliberately. Most people who feel different spend their energy trying to fit in. They try to normalize their perceptions, to think like everyone else, to want what everyone else wants. They see their difference as a problem to be solved, rather than a capacity to be developed. But here's the truth that changes everything. Your difference is your superpower. It's your ability to access non-local information, to perceive beyond linear causality, to sense the deeper patterns that govern reality. And when you stop trying to suppress this ability and start cultivating it instead, you discover something extraordinary. You can literally think reality into new configurations, not through force or manipulation, but through a kind of quantum coherence that aligns your consciousness with the creative intelligence of the universe itself. This isn't mystical thinking. This is quantum physics applied to consciousness. When your awareness becomes coherent, when your thoughts, emotions, and intentions align at the quantum level, you create what scientists call constructive interference in the field of possibility. Your focused attention amplifies certain potentials while diminishing others. In practical terms, this means you don't have to struggle against reality to change it. You just have to observe it from a different state of consciousness. You have to measure it with different instruments of perception, and those measurements will collapse the wave function into experiences that match your coherent observation. But this requires something that most people aren't willing to do. It requires you to fully embrace your difference instead of trying to minimize it. Here's what I mean. Every time you try to think like everyone else, every time you suppress your intuitive knowing to fit social expectations, every time you doubt your perceptions because they don't match consensus reality, you're essentially tuning your consciousness back down to classical frequencies. You're voluntarily limiting your access to the quantum field. The moment you prove it, the moment you prove you're not like the others, happens when you stop apologizing for your expanded perception and start using it intentionally. This means trusting your intuitive hits even when they seem to contradict logical thinking. This means following your energetic sensing even when others can't understand your choices. This means allowing your consciousness to operate at its natural frequency instead of constantly trying to down-regulate to match everyone else's limitations. When you do this, something remarkable happens. Reality begins to respond to you differently. Synchronicities increase. Opportunities appear that weren't there before. People and resources show up in perfect timing. What others call lucky breaks or coincidences become your normal experience because you're living in alignment with the quantum nature of reality instead of fighting against it. But let me share something even deeper, something that will help you understand why this moment, this exact moment, is so crucial for your transformation. The reason you're feeling called to prove your difference now isn't random. It's not just personal growth or self-improvement. It's because the collective consciousness of humanity is approaching what systems theorists call a phase transition. a moment when the entire species shifts into a new level of awareness and capability. And people like you, people whose consciousness already operates outside conventional parameters, are the early adopters. You're the ones who are naturally equipped to navigate this transition and help others make the shift as well. This is why your difference matters so much. It's not just about your personal fulfillment or success. It's about your role in humanity's quantum leap into expanded consciousness. Every time you choose to honor your unique perception instead of conforming to collective limitations, you're literally helping to stabilize new patterns in the morphic field. You're making it easier for others to access the same expanded awareness. You're proving that different ways of thinking and being are not just possible, they're inevitable. Take a moment and comment below with this phrase: I choose to honor my quantum nature. Let that be your declaration to the field. Your signal that you're ready to stop hiding your difference and start using it as the creative force it was always meant to be. Because here's what happens when enough people start operating from their quantum nature instead of their conditioned limitations. The entire fabric of reality begins to shift. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable. What appeared fixed reveals itself as fluid. What looked like problems dissolve into possibilities. This is the moment you prove you're not like the others by stopping the attempt to be like them. By ending the exhausting effort to squeeze your expanded consciousness into conventional frameworks. By recognizing that your difference isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature of the upgrade. But proving it requires more than just understanding. It requires practice. It requires you to begin using your quantum consciousness deliberately in your daily experience. Let me guide you through what this looks like practically. First, you learn to recognize when you're operating from your quantum nature versus when you're defaulting to classical thinking. Quantum consciousness feels spacious, multidimensional, and possibility-rich. Classical thinking feels linear, limited, and problem-focused. When you catch yourself slipping into classical patterns, thinking in terms of either-or, believing in scarcity, feeling separate from your desired outcomes, you gently shift back into quantum awareness. You remember that you're not separate from the reality you're observing. You're participating in its creation. Second, you start making decisions from quantum principles instead of classical logic alone. Instead of asking, "What's the most realistic choice?" you ask, "What choice aligns with my highest possibility?" Instead of, "What can I force to happen?" you ask, "What wants to emerge through me?" This doesn't mean abandoning practical considerations. It means including quantum factors that classical thinking ignores. It means considering synchronicity as information. It means recognizing intuitive knowing as data. It means understanding that the path of least resistance often leads to the most extraordinary outcomes. Third, you begin to treat your attention as the most powerful creative tool you possess. Because quantum mechanically, that's exactly what it is. Every moment of every day, your consciousness is collapsing infinite possibilities into specific experiences through the quality of your observation. Most people scatter their attention across whatever captures their reactive awareness. News, social media, other people's opinions, past regrets, future worries. But when you understand your quantum nature, you realize that this scattered attention is literally creating scattered, chaotic experiences. So you learn to focus your observation intentionally. You choose what to measure in your reality. You select which possibilities to amplify through your attention and which to allow to fade through your disregard. This is how you prove you're not like the others. Not through dramatic gestures or external accomplishments, but through the quantum coherence of your consciousness. Through your willingness to observe reality from expanded states of awareness and allow those observations to create new patterns of experience. And here's something beautiful that happens when you start living this way consistently. You discover that your difference isn't just about you. It's about the field of possibility that surrounds you and everyone you interact with. When your consciousness operates at quantum frequencies, it creates what scientists call non-local correlation with other consciousnesses in your environment. Your expanded awareness literally makes it easier for others to access their own expanded awareness. Your quantum coherence helps stabilize quantum coherence in the people around you. This means that every time you choose to honor your difference instead of hiding it, you're not just transforming your own reality, you're contributing to the transformation of collective reality. You're proving that consciousness isn't limited by the boundaries that most people accept as permanent. If this resonates with something deep in your being, if you feel this content touching parts of you that have been waiting for permission to emerge, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this space where quantum consciousness meets practical transformation, to this community of people who understand that being different isn't a limitation, it's an activation. Because what we're talking about here isn't theory, it's not philosophy or wishful thinking. It's the lived experience of consciousness discovering its creative power and learning to use that power in service of what wants to emerge. Let me share something with you that might seem paradoxical, but contains a crucial understanding about your quantum nature. The more you try to prove you're different in conventional ways, through achievement, through accomplishment, through external recognition, the more you actually reinforce the classical reality that treats consciousness as separate from the world it observes. But the moment you prove your difference by living from quantum awareness, by treating your consciousness as the creative force behind your experience, everything shifts. You stop needing external validation because you're directly experiencing your power to generate reality from the inside out. This is what I call invisible proof. You're proving your quantum nature not to convince others, but to activate the full potential of your consciousness. And that activation automatically creates evidence in the form of transformed circumstances, expanded possibilities, and experiences that others might call miraculous, but that you recognize as the natural result of conscious observation. Here's a practice that will help you strengthen this invisible proof. Tonight, before you sleep, instead of reviewing the problems or limitations of your day, take a few minutes to observe your reality from the perspective of infinite possibility. Don't try to change anything. Don't visualize or affirm or manifest. Simply observe your current experience while holding awareness that what you're seeing is just one configuration of an infinite field of potential. Let yourself sense the vast space of unmanifested possibility that surrounds every aspect of your life. Feel into the quantum superposition that exists behind every situation, every relationship, every challenge, every opportunity. Sense that your observation is not just witnessing these potentials, it's participating in selecting which ones become actual experience. And then, from that expanded awareness, simply appreciate yourself for being willing to perceive beyond ordinary limitations, for being someone whose consciousness naturally reaches toward possibilities that others can't yet see. This isn't positive thinking or self-improvement. This is quantum conditioning. You're literally training your consciousness to maintain coherent observation across multiple dimensions of possibility simultaneously. You're developing the quantum muscle that allows you to navigate reality as a creative participant rather than a passive recipient. Pause here for a moment and share in the comments. What's one pattern in your life that you're ready to observe from a completely different quantum perspective? Your sharing creates ripples in the collective field that help others recognize their own transformation possibilities. And as you continue this practice, you'll notice something profound happening. Your difference stops feeling like something you need to prove to others and starts feeling like something you're constantly proving to yourself. Not through struggle or effort, but through the simple recognition that your consciousness operates according to principles that most people haven't yet discovered. You'll find yourself naturally making choices that align with quantum possibilities instead of classical limitations. You'll notice that synchronicities increase, that resources appear when needed, that obstacles dissolve in ways that seem effortless, but are actually the result of your coherent observation selecting more harmonious possibilities from the quantum field. But let's go deeper into what this actually looks like moment by moment, day by day, as you learn to navigate reality from your quantum nature. Because understanding the principles is one thing, embodying them is where the real transformation happens. Most people live their lives reacting to reality as if it's happening to them. They wake up, assess their circumstances, and then spend their day trying to manipulate those circumstances into something more desirable. It's exhausting because they're always working against what appears to be fixed, external conditions. But when you understand your quantum nature, you realize that this entire approach is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how reality actually works. You're not separate from the reality you're trying to change. You're the consciousness through which that reality is being observed into existence moment by moment. This means that every morning, you wake up not to a fixed set of circumstances, but to a field of infinite possibility that's waiting for your conscious observation to collapse it into specific experience. Your first thoughts, your first emotional states, your first choices about where to place your attention, these aren't just responses to your reality. They're the creative forces that determine what your reality becomes. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in practice. Imagine you wake up and immediately notice a familiar pattern starting to activate. Maybe it's worry about money, or anxiety about a relationship, or frustration with work. In classical thinking, you'd see these feelings as natural responses to your circumstances. But from quantum awareness, you recognize something completely different. You see that these emotional patterns are actually observation templates. They're lenses of consciousness that, when activated, search the infinite field of possibility for experiences that match their frequency. Your worry about money literally observes financial lack into manifestation. Your relationship anxiety collapses the wave function in ways that create exactly the relationship dynamics you're afraid of. This recognition changes everything, because the moment you see that your habitual emotional patterns are creating the very experiences they claim to be reacting to, you realize you have a choice. You can continue using the same observation templates that have been creating your repetitive experiences, or you can consciously select new ones. This is where your difference becomes your greatest tool. While others remain unconscious of this process, you can learn to work with it deliberately. You can develop what I call quantum emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize which emotional states will collapse the field into which types of experiences, and then choose your emotional frequency based on what you actually want to create. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something that most people who talk about manifestation or the law of attraction completely miss. It's not enough to just think positive thoughts or feel good emotions. Those approaches still treat consciousness as separate from reality. as if you're trying to influence something outside yourself through the force of your mental or emotional state. True quantum creation happens when you recognize that you are the field. You're not trying to influence reality from the outside. You're observing reality from the inside, and your observation is literally selecting which possibilities become actualized experience. This means that when you choose a specific emotional frequency, you're not trying to attract matching circumstances. You're actually shifting your identity within the field of possibility. You're changing which version of yourself, and therefore which version of reality, you're observing from. Think about this carefully. In quantum mechanics, the observer isn't separate from what's being observed. The act of observation is what determines which of the infinite possible states becomes actual experience. So when you shift your state of consciousness, you're not just changing your perspective on reality. You're changing which reality you're observing into existence. Now, what we've explored today about quantum identity and emotional frequency is just one layer of a much deeper understanding. If you're feeling that resonance, that recognition of your quantum nature stirring something profound within you, then you're ready for the complete framework that takes you beyond theory into mastery. I've compiled years of research and practical application into a comprehensive guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery, a step-by-step system for developing full command of your quantum capabilities and learning to navigate reality as the conscious creator you were designed to be. It's linked in the pinned comment below. But let's continue exploring how this quantum identity shifting actually works in practice, because understanding this principle will completely transform how you approach change in your life. You see, this recognition that you're not separate from the reality you're observing, that your consciousness is literally selecting which possibilities become actualized experience. This understanding reveals why traditional goal-setting and willpower-based change strategies have always felt inadequate to you. They assume that you're a separate entity trying to create change in an external world. But your quantum awareness knows intuitively that this entire premise is incorrect. You're not separate from the world you want to change. You're the consciousness through which all possible versions of that world exist in superposition until your observation collapses them into experience. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Let's say there's a situation in your life that appears stuck or problematic. Maybe it's a difficult relationship, a challenging work environment, or a persistent health issue. From classical thinking, you'd look at this situation as a fixed problem that needs to be solved through external action. But from quantum awareness, you recognize that what appears to be a fixed situation is actually just one possible configuration of energy and information that's being held in place by habitual patterns of observation. The problem isn't separate from you. It's a reflection of unconscious observation templates that keep selecting similar experiences from the field of possibility. So instead of trying to fix the external situation, you begin to work with your observation itself. You start to notice the specific thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and expectations that constitute your current way of observing this area of your life. And then, and this is the crucial part, you don't try to change these patterns through force or willpower. Instead, you simply begin to observe from a different state of consciousness. You shift your identity within the quantum field to a version of yourself that naturally observes different possibilities. This might sound abstract, so let me make it concrete. If you're dealing with a difficult relationship, you don't focus on trying to change the other person or even trying to change your own behavior. Instead, you shift into the consciousness of someone who naturally experiences harmonious, flowing relationships. You don't visualize or affirm or pretend. You simply rest your awareness in the felt sense of what it would be like to be the kind of person for whom healthy relationships are natural and obvious. You observe your current relationship from this expanded identity and allow that observation to collapse the field into new possibilities. What happens next often seems miraculous from a classical perspective, but it's completely predictable from quantum understanding. The relationship begins to shift in ways that seem to have nothing to do with your internal work. The other person starts behaving differently. New opportunities for resolution appear. Old patterns simply dissolve without effort or struggle. This isn't positive thinking or wishful fantasy. This is consciousness working with the actual structure of reality. You're not trying to force change. You're simply observing from a different quantum state. And that observation naturally selects different experiences from the infinite field of possibility. But here's something crucial that most people miss when they start working with these principles. The reason your quantum nature feels so natural to you isn't just because you're more spiritually evolved or intellectually sophisticated than others. It's because your nervous system is literally structured differently. Recent research in neuroscience and quantum biology is revealing that consciousness isn't just an emergent property of brain activity. It's a fundamental feature of reality itself that interfaces with biological systems in ways we're only beginning to understand. Some people like you, are born with nervous systems that are naturally more sensitive to quantum phenomena. Your brain processes information in ways that include non-local correlation, quantum coherence, and sensitivity to the zero-point field that contains all possibilities. This is why you've always felt like you perceive reality differently than others. Because you literally do. Your consciousness interfaces with dimensions of information and possibility that less sensitive nervous systems simply don't register. This sensitivity is often pathologized in our culture. People with high quantum sensitivity are frequently labeled as too sensitive, too intense, too weird, or even mentally unstable. But what's actually happening is that they're picking up information from layers of reality that consensus consciousness has learned to ignore. Your difference isn't a disorder, it's an upgrade. You're experiencing what human consciousness is naturally capable of when it's not dampened down by social conditioning and survival fears. But here's the challenge. Living with this level of sensitivity in a world that doesn't understand or support it can be overwhelming. You're constantly picking up emotional energies from others, sensing possibilities that aren't yet manifested, feeling the pain of collective unconsciousness. It's exhausting to be quantum sensitive in a classical reality. This is why so many people like you end up trying to shut down their sensitivity. They learn to numb themselves, to disconnect from their intuitive awareness, to conform to consensus reality even though it feels dead and limiting. But what if instead of seeing your sensitivity as something to manage or overcome, you recognized it as the very capacity that allows you to access and activate quantum possibilities that others can't perceive? What if your sensitivity is actually your superpower, and learning to work with it consciously is how you step into your role as a reality creator? This requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to your own awareness. Instead of trying to protect yourself from the overwhelming nature of quantum sensitivity, you learn to use that sensitivity as a navigational tool for accessing higher dimensional possibilities. You begin to understand that when you feel overwhelmed by emotional energies, you're not just being affected by other people's states. You're sensing opportunities for transformation that exist in the collective field. When you perceive possibilities that others can't see, you're not being delusional. You're accessing information from the quantum realm of potential. When you feel the pain of collective unconsciousness, you're not just suffering, you're sensing exactly where consciousness needs to evolve, and your awareness of these areas becomes part of the solution. This is where your difference becomes not just personal empowerment, but planetary service. Your quantum sensitivity allows you to perceive where the collective consciousness is stuck in limiting patterns, and your conscious use of your abilities helps to dissolve those patterns for everyone. What's one moment today when you felt your quantum sensitivity picking up information that others couldn't perceive? Share that experience below. These recognitions help us all trust our expanded awareness more fully. Every time you choose to observe from expanded awareness, instead of contracting into fear or overwhelm, you're literally helping to upgrade the morphogenetic field that influences how consciousness develops across the entire species. This is why it's so important that you stop trying to be normal. The world doesn't need more normal people. The world needs people who can access and stabilize new possibilities, who can demonstrate that consciousness is far more creative and powerful than most people realize. Your quantum nature isn't just about your personal transformation. It's about your contribution to the transformation of human consciousness itself. You're here to prove, through your lived experience, that reality is far more fluid and responsive than collective belief systems suggest. But to fulfill this role, you have to fully embrace your difference instead of trying to minimize it. You have to develop confidence in your quantum perceptions, even when they contradict consensus reality. You have to trust your expanded awareness, even when others can't understand or validate your experience. This is probably the most challenging aspect of living from your quantum nature. Because even though your consciousness naturally operates outside conventional parameters, you're still human. You still crave connection, understanding, acceptance, and it can be lonely to perceive possibilities that others can't see, to sense potentials that others don't believe exist. But here's something beautiful that happens as you continue to honor your quantum nature instead of suppressing it. You begin to attract and connect with others who are also awakening to their expanded capabilities. You discover that you're not alone in your difference. You're part of a growing community of consciousness pioneers who are remembering what human awareness is actually capable of. And as this community grows and strengthens, it becomes easier to maintain your quantum consciousness in a world that doesn't always support it. You have witnesses to your expanded experience. You have companions on the journey of conscious evolution. You have collaborators in the great work of transforming reality through transformed awareness. This is the real reason why community engagement is so important in this work. It's not just about building an audience or growing a following. It's about recognizing and connecting with others who share your quantum nature, who understand that consciousness and reality are intimately connected, who are committed to using their awareness in service of what wants to emerge. When you find your quantum community, something extraordinary happens. Your individual sensitivity combines with others' expanded awareness to create collective coherence that's far more powerful than any individual consciousness working alone. This collective coherence allows you to access and stabilize possibilities that would be difficult to maintain in isolation. It creates a supportive field within the larger collective consciousness, a pocket of expanded awareness that makes it easier for others to awaken to their own quantum nature. This is how consciousness evolves at a species level, not through mass education or political change, but through small groups of individuals who learn to maintain coherent awareness of expanded possibilities, and whose coherence gradually influences the larger morphogenetic field. You're part of this evolution. Your willingness to embrace your difference, to develop your quantum capabilities, to live from expanded consciousness despite the challenges. This is literally helping to birth a new level of human awareness. Share this video with someone whose consciousness is ready for this activation. When you share these concepts, you're not just spreading information, you're creating energetic ripples that help stabilize quantum awareness in the collective field, making it easier for others to access their own expanded nature while reinforcing your own quantum coherence. But it requires you to stay committed to your path, even when it feels difficult or uncertain. Even when others don't understand. Even when you doubt yourself or wonder if you're just imagining things. Your quantum nature is real. Your expanded perceptions are valid. Your ability to access and influence possibilities beyond ordinary awareness is not fantasy. It's the natural result of consciousness that's operating closer to its actual potential. And every day that you choose to honor this nature, instead of suppressing it, every moment that you trust your quantum awareness, instead of defaulting to classical thinking, every time you use your sensitivity as a tool for conscious creation, instead of seeing it as a burden to manage, you're proving not just to yourself, but to the entire field of consciousness that human awareness contains possibilities that most people have only begun to explore. Most importantly, you'll stop feeling separate from others because of your difference. Instead, you'll recognize that your quantum awareness allows you to see the same infinite potential that exists within everyone. Your difference becomes a bridge rather than a barrier. Your expanded consciousness becomes a gift that helps others remember their own quantum nature. This is the real moment you prove you're not like the others, when you recognize that your difference isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about accessing capabilities that exist within human consciousness itself, but that most people have simply forgotten how to use. Your quantum awareness isn't special because it makes you superior. It's special because it makes you a pioneer. Someone who is remembering what human consciousness is actually capable of when it stops limiting itself to classical thinking patterns. And every time you choose to operate from this expanded awareness, instead of contracting back into conventional limitations, you're not just proving your difference. You're proving what's possible for human consciousness itself. You're demonstrating that the boundaries most people accept as permanent are actually just temporary configurations of a much more fluid and creative reality. You're showing that consciousness and matter aren't separate forces, but different aspects of one unified field of intelligence that we can learn to navigate consciously. Drop one word in the comments that captures the energy of transformation you're choosing to embody after watching this. Let that word be your energetic signature to the quantum field. Your declaration that you're ready to stop hiding your difference and start using it as the creative force it was always meant to be. And subscribe, not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent. To maintain the quantum frequency that allows you to access possibilities beyond ordinary perception. Because the more of us who embody this expanded awareness, the more the world reflects that truth. The more reality itself begins to operate according to quantum principles instead of classical limitations. This is your moment. Not to become different. You already are different. But to embrace that difference as your greatest asset. To use your quantum consciousness deliberately. To prove through your lived experience that reality is far more creative, far more responsive, far more magical than most people dare to imagine. You're not like the others because you remember what consciousness is capable of. And this is the moment you stop apologizing for that remembering and start living from it fully. The quantum field is waiting for your coherent observation. Reality is waiting for your conscious participation. The future is waiting for you to prove, through your very existence, that human consciousness contains possibilities that most people haven't even begun to explore. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your quantum awakening. And it begins the instant you stop trying to be like everyone else and start being exactly what you came here to be. A conscious creator operating at the intersection of infinite possibility and lived experience. Welcome to your quantum nature. Welcome to your difference. Welcome to the moment you prove it all by simply being authentically, courageously, quantumly yourself. The field is listening. Reality is responding. Everything is changing because you finally remember who you really are. And you are nothing like the others. Thank God for that. But understanding your quantum difference is just the beginning. To fully master how reality reflects your observations back to you requires deeper exploration of what I call the observer mirror, the precise mechanism through which your consciousness creates your experience moment by moment. This understanding will show you exactly how to use your observer awareness to transform any aspect of your reality with surgical precision.